just for the audience, disbursement and collections are two parts of payments. Disbursement essentially is sending money to a bank account or to any account. Collection essentially is receiving money, right? So in Bukuwarung, one of our primary products was to disburse money on behalf of agents, right? Imagine a situation where in India, at least, if I were to give you a comparable, you go to tier 2 or tier 3 villages and you want to transfer money, physical cash, that is to somebody in a metro city or to your relative or to your parents, right? That was one of the business lines that Bukuwarung had, right? In one of those business lines that Bukuwarung used to operate or continues to operate, we had faced a scenario where disbursements, which usually take seconds, got stuck and were stuck in such a way that some of these were not resolvable even in 10 minutes, right? We would not be able to resolve them in 10 minutes. As a result of this, customer complaints would pile up. And it was not only our customers customers would also complain a lot, right? And this used to happen not between frequently and infrequently, and we were dependent on a partner that we were using for disbursement, right? So this was a big problem for us. This was a big problem in Bukuwarung, right? The idea was to see how can we improve the success rate, right? And by success rate, we mean how do we ensure that if we give one instruction to a partner to send money to XYZ account number in, let's say, ICICI Bank, how can we ensure that in the first instruction, we are able to send it, right? And if not in the first instruction, can we build alternative pathways to be able to ensure that money is sent to that particular bank account, right? So there were certain changes that we made at Bukuwarung, not very complicated, very fundamental changes from a payments architecture standpoint. Like I said, again, not very complicated, but again, first principles approach, right? Any payment professional or payment product professional would say that if you have reached a specific scale in payments, right, it is imperative that you have backups, right? People or companies or products have backups for failures, right? For example, if a provider is not available, you switch to another provider, right? In our case, Bukuwarung did that, but Bukuwarung stitched the workflow very differently. We stitched the workflow very differently in the sense that if I was sending instruction to partner A to disburse money to bank ABCDE, right? We would wait for the response, and if the response was a failure, and if the failure was of a specific reason where a retry was possible, for example, if the bank account is closed, there's no point retrying, right? Irrespective of how many routes you take, right? If the bank account is closed, nobody can send money to that bank account, right? So what we did was we took error codes, right? We classified them into retriable, non-retriable, right? Whatever was non-retriable, refunded the money back to the source, right? For retriable, we had a waterfall logic, right? And we said that, look, try using provider A or partner A. If it succeeds, fantastic. If it does not succeed, move to partner B. Again, try, succeeds, inform the customer that the transaction is successful. If it does not succeed, just keep going. And this is an infinitely scalable model, right? You can have hundreds of partners and this waterfall will keep working because this works in a serial manner, right? Now, building the waterfall is one aspect for it. The second aspect is prioritization of which partner comes in which order of the waterfall, right? That is predominantly governed by 2 or 3 factors. One is success rate, because the more loops you go through the waterfall, the more time it takes, right? And in payments business, the more time it takes would mean that it has a higher chance of failure, and it also reflects very poorly on the customer, right? Because as a payments company, you want to do it fast, right? So the structuring or the looping of the waterfall, or how do I put it, right? The layering of the sandwich, right? You have the bread and then you have the tomato first, you have the cucumber, then you have the green chutney and all that. You want to get the order right? And not the other way around, right? So there are some factors that go into the layering of the waterfall itself. The foremost and most important factor is success rate. Second is availability, right? For example, if a particular partner of yours is not available, and if they are the primary partner, then there's no point keeping them primary. You want to push them to the bottom, and you want to ensure that the second most partner comes first, right? So success rate, availability, and also cost. How much price are you paying for the transaction, right? You want to ensure that you're able to provide this service at a cost where you do not lose money, right? We did a small trial with certain destination banks, right? And we slowly rolled it out to a bunch of customers, right? And then observed changes, observed how much incremental time it was taking for transactions that were going through a second loop or a third loop, right? And what we found was the additional time taken was not significant from a customer standpoint, but the success rate boost was significant from a customer standpoint. How did we measure success? So the obvious thing to measure is success rate, and you can always measure success rates, right? And the second thing was that we also had what we also looked on was a number of customer support tickets, right, for this specific issue, right? And they also declined, right? So this, in the sense, helped Bukuwarung boost disbursement success rates on an average to 20-25%. For certain banks, it was higher. For certain banks, it was lower. But on an average, it was around that. And more importantly, it helped bring about a positive change in the way customers sometimes would look at the service at certain times of the day. And it so became that if there were certain direct channels that you had with the bank, and if they were not working, you always had another channel through which you could send money, right? And customers were really appreciative of that.